Howdy. This is the beginning of a series-esque I'll be doing of completely maxed out Warframes. Their whole build, their 5 Talforged Archon shards, best mods, best arcanes, the entire setup, our pets, all of our weapons, our focus school, everything is going to be as high investment as I can possibly get, just for maximum damage and satisfaction. And the first Warframe on our list to do is Valkyr, because I've been meaning to update her build after the Jade Shadows update. So here we are with the completely maxed out Valkyr build, and it's pretty spicy. It was pretty decent before, but I've made several changes that have really optimized it. So let's go ahead and go to it. Here it is, the Valkyr build. Now, before I forget, here is the Valkyr fashion for those interested. Now, look at this. Ooh, beautiful. 4 purple Talforged for melee crit damage, and 1 for casting speed. If you wanted maximum damage, you could go 5 purples. But honestly, that's going to be total overkill at that point, and having casting speed is just really nice to have. It's just really comfortable. So if we go and let me think where to start, because there's a lot going on here. That's going to be the case with all of these high investment videos. There's just so much going on. So obviously we have 4 purple Talforged Archon shards, which are all for melee crit damage. We do need to have our max energy over 500, so we have primed flow in the build. And all these together come out at a 300% crit damage increase, which is extremely nice. So first off, this right here is the previous build that I had from quite a while ago. I was changing a little bit here and there, but this is like the main build I did a video on several months ago, I think. And this is completely outdated now. Don't use this. I mean, it's not the worst build ever, but it's definitely nowhere near as good as the current one. One of the things that changed with the Jade Shadows was obviously the armor changes. And because of that, you no longer need a full armor strip, which means we don't have to have corrosive projection 328 strength on pillage. Pillage is just the most was the most convenient armor strip prior to Jade Shadows, and it meant we needed to really min-max to get that, which is why beforehand I used to have 2 red Archon shards here for strength, so I could get to 320, but I don't need those anymore, which is why I switched to purple shards. Now, we also got a new helmet ability from Jade, Open Eyes. This is perfect on Valkyr. It's just so nice. It just does all the work for you. You cast it, it passively armor strips. We have 309 strength, so we get 30% armor strip per tick. But we also have corrosive projection on, which reduces their armor by 18%, meaning we only need 3 seconds of looking at an enemy, just 3 ticks, and they have no armor. While we don't need a full armor strip is still going to be nice. If we are facing an enemy with max armor, which will be most enemies past like level 500, let's say we had like 98% armor strip on an enemy with 2700 armor. That would put them down to 12.5% damage reduction, I believe, still, that with their 2% remaining armor, which comes out to about a 14% damage increase if we were to strip that last 2%, which is why, like, you know, a full armor strip still has value. It's just nowhere near as important as it was before. So that's why I'm running corrosive projection here, just to get the extra damage, as well as for any enemies around us that we don't happen to tag with Open Eyes, so we still get big PP damage by at least stripping the large portion of their armor on the high end via corrosive projection, just passively doing it. Eternal War is still amazing here, very necessary to always keep up Warcry, which is going to give us all of our melee attack speed. Equilibrium and Energize, because we really need the energy, otherwise we will not be able to upkeep this. Molt Efficiency is nice because it gives us extra duration, which means it costs less energy for Hysteria, and both Open Eyes and Warcry last longer, just makes it really easy to keep everything up. Prime Continuity, of course, for duration, Prime Flow for Energy Max, which we need for the purple shards to work, Blind Rage and Transient Fortitude for a bunch of strength, Umbral Intensify for even more strength, and Umbral Vitality. Now, I know this doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but the extra HP is actually really nice when you're doing any sort of activity that passively drains your HP, such as Deep Archimedes or anything. Like, if there's a debuff draining your HP, this just makes life so much easier to deal with. Especially if, like, you happen to end your claws or you run out of energy, which really, if you're using this build right, you shouldn't run out of energy. I mean, it's made for content with very dense groups of enemies, but it shouldn't be too big of an issue to make sure you don't, have to end your claws, because you'll also lose your combo if you do that. The one thing here that is totally optional is the Exilus slot. Swing Line is what I'm running. It gives us 20% particle velocity, which is the same thing that you get from, like, the Mobilize mod, which is actually a really good mod if you ask me. But it also makes it so after using a Rip Line, which I actually like, I know most people think it's terrible, but after using a Rip Line, the next 4 Rip Lines have no energy cost if they're used while in the air. And that also scales with strength, so we get 12 Rip Lines for free in the air after casting it once, which means we get this movement tool that costs literally 0 energy. There are other options though, such as Hysterical Assault. You can run this if you want to leap onto enemies. It does scale with range. It's pretty funny. It's not necessary, but it can be very entertaining to use. So if you want to use this, that's also an option. But either way, these are both really movement tools, right? This is just to aim at an enemy and leap at them. This is to swing line more. The reason I go with swing line instead is because this requires an enemy to see to grab onto them, whereas I can just swing line at objects and stuff whenever I want. Other options are something like, where is it? Nir's Anguish. This gives us extra slam attack damage, which is multiplicative to base damage, such as Pressure Point. This actually is not a bad option at all, though you'll see later on that we don't need it because we do have a source of slam attack damage already. Or you could go Amar's Anguish, but the secondary effect on it is worthless. I did test it. I think it used to work prior to Jade Shadows. I swear it did, but now the teleporting to a target with a heavy attack, it doesn't work with your claws anymore like it used to, which is sad because it was pretty funny. Not like practical per se, but funny. That is the gist of the build now, or the build on Valkyr herself. And now we have to go to all of the rest stuff. This is going to be a pretty long video because I'm going to explain all of this, show it in a tested area, right? Like controlled test in the simulacrum, and then I'm going to go into a mission. So get ready for a long video. Now we have Miter here. Miter's very, very nice because it lets us pop Nullifier shields with Neutralizing Justice. It's a pretty decent Incarnon weapon on its own. We can do some decent damage to, what are they, Acolytes? Not terrible damage. Primary Dexterity here because we're getting melee kills, so we always get the bonus damage to Miter, and then we also get the combo duration for our claws, which is very nice. Other than that, pretty straightforward build. This is the most important mod though, the augment for it, so that we can pop bubbles, the Nullifier bubbles. Next, we have the Kuva Nucor. This is a priming weapon, so that we can put a bunch of status effects on the enemy to get really, really big damage. Most of the time, you will not need to prime the enemy. They're just gonna die way faster just by whacking them a couple times with your claws. It will take longer to prime them, but if you're facing really, really chunky targets, then it might be nice to prime them. I have a heat progenitor. It's only 28.8. I would prefer a magnetic progenitor. That would be much better here, or at least in my opinion it would. We have Perpetual Agony, Augur Seeker, so we get lots of stats duration. Then, stats chance to reload speed from Stunning Speed is nice. We have Viral, so we can get lots of it, right, via Frostbite, Pistol, Pestilence. Lethal Torrents for the fire rate and multi-shot, Anemic Agility for more fire rates, and multi-shot and dodge speed from Amalgam Barrel Diffusion. You don't need the Amalgam version, but I like it for the extra dodge speed. And we're not going to be killing stuff anyways with this weapon, so it's not like we need the galvanized version. Secondary Encumber is important here because we apply tons of statuses very fast, and we'll get a bunch more random ones with this, so we can get pretty much every status in the game on the enemy for Condition Overload, which we have on our claws, and that will, that's going to be where most of our damage is coming from by priming. Then we have Telos Voltus. This is going to be a purely stat stick melee. We're never using it because we're always going to be in our claws. Now it has a passive that gives us 20% parkour velocity when equipped. Very nice. And we are using it as a gladiator stat stick. Gladiator mods do affect your claws, but not if they're equipped on your claws. So don't put them on your weapon or on your claws. Put them on your normal melee. I did see somewhere, I can't remember if it was like a video or a Reddit post or something, I saw someone say that it doesn't work with Exalteds anymore, but I tested it thoroughly and it does. So getting the extra 30%, that's nearly Blood Rush. That's almost the same strength as Blood Rush, and it works on our claws, which is very nice since you can't put Blood Rush on your claws. Other than that, run literally whatever you want. All it matters is that we have the weapon for the trait for parkour velocity and the gladiator mods. There are other weapons you can run as stat sticks as well if you would prefer, like Inodem or Praetos, but it's really up to you. All that matters is you have the gladiator mods on. Then we have our focus school, Naramon, of course, because it's the best for melees. We get opening slam, which lets us build up our combo very, very fast. We have power spikes so that our combo only decays by 5 when it goes down instead of losing it completely. We have Killer's Rush you can use, but I honestly don't think it's worth going through the effort for it most of the time. But we will always get the extra damage for Operator if our combo's up when we go into him because of this, right? So Amp Spike is always active in our Operator pretty much, and Void Levitation is also okay. But we're mostly using this for Power Spike and Opening Slam. Then, our Claws. Finally, onto our claws. We do have Tennokai here because the slam does some huge damage after the slam changes they did in Dante Unbound. It's pretty crazy how much damage you can do. We have Prime Fever Strike as our only elemental mod because we want the extra damage, because, it scales multiplicatively with base damage. That's how, damage works in this game. Toxin is all we need. We don't need a specific status because our status chance is terrible. We'll be applying statuses with our pet or priming with the new core. Toxin is a nice element to have as well because it has no negative damage efficacy effect towards anything. So we're not going to be doing half damage to any enemies with the majority of the damage we deal. And then we get 50% more to Narmer. Not that that matters because Narmer almost doesn't exist. Though I think the Narmer might count with the Archons. I'm not sure. Let me know if you know that for sure in the comments. Sacrificial Pressure, Sacrificial Steel, 2 Umbral mods. So yeah, I've got 2 Umbral mods on Valkyr and 2 on her claws for a total of 4 Umbral Forma. That's a lot. We want both of these because that means we get the extra damage we have the damage from Sacrificial Pressure, of course, even though it's less than Prime Pressure Point. But it's nice for the damage if we don't have enough elements on the enemy yet to have a decent amount of damage from Condition Overload. And by having both, we also get higher crit chance on Sacrificial Steel, which we of course want the crit chance, since we have a massive base 50% on her claws. Primed Reach to maximize her range, because the base range is 1.7, horrendously bad, but it is an exalted weapon, meaning it has a follow-through of 100%, right? A 1.0 follow-through. So we really want as much range as we can get. So we also have Spring-Loaded Blade. Even though we have horrible status chance, we're going to be attacking fast enough and hitting enough enemies that we can keep this up pretty much all the time. So we can actually go up to 6.7 meters as opposed to the base 1.7. That is a lot of range for her claws, considering it has a 100% follow-through. Organ Shatter for more crit damage. I'm sure you could probably run something else since we have 4 purple Archon shards for crit damage. You might get more damage by running something else here, but I just prefer to have this on. We have Condition Overload, of course, like I said, so we get all of the extra damage for every element applied on the enemy, which will, other than priming, like I said a minute ago, we'll have our pets, I'll show in a minute. And Seismic Wave, because this is a multiplicative damage increase to our slam attacks. As you can see, 9,700 normally and 2,900 with Seismic Wave. The reason we want this is our heavy attack. We will not be doing normal slams like that in our claws, right? Don't ever do that. That's completely worthless. The reason we like that is the heavy attack on the claws is a slam with her leg, and it does some very chunky damage. Now, onto the pet. We have Dairiga for priming purposes. He is pretty straightforward build, right? Manifold Bond, Arc Coil, as it always goes, Guardian for extra survivability. Since Deconstruct, since we'll be tagging so many enemies, which means lots of health orbs, which means lots of energy because of equilibrium. So that works out nicely. Mystic Bond, so that we get free ability casts all the time. Because of how often Arc Coil goes out, and that we only have to cast our 2 and our 4 once, and pretty much the same thing for Rip Line, because we get tons of free casts because of the Xless. The only ability we ever have to cast would be Ophanim Eyes, and because it lasts like 46 seconds, with Mystic Bond, we're going to get that back way before we need to recast it, meaning Ophanim Eyes is always a free cast. That is just going to help a fair, not like a ton, but it'll help a decent bit for our energy economy. Pretty straightforward. The rest of it, you know, vacuum, prime regen, assault mode, so it actually targets stuff, accelerated deflection, and oh yeah, that's it. So that it can get its shield gate back faster to help try to keep our Dairiga from dying. Duplex Bond, so that it can duplicate itself, even though it cannot use Arc Coil. The duplicates they can shoot with your weapon, which we have Hellstrom for even more priming. This is the Hellstrom build. It is just viral primer. We have lots of fire rates, prime firestorm for bigger explosions, multi-shots, and status chance, just to get as much viral and heat/impact stuff on as many enemies as we possibly can. So we get big PP damage. And that is it, I believe. Now, you can run stuff on your operator for operator arcanes. I will, when that's relevant, I'll definitely mention it in videos like maxing out frames, but for Valkyr, run whatever you want. It doesn't really matter what arcane you have on your operator or what weapon they have. So, that is the whole Valkyr build. Holy crap, that took a very long time to go over. Now, let's show it off a bit against these enemies. I will unpause them. First we cast this, then this, and then this, and now we just go in, and we don't even have our combo built up yet, so keep that in mind, of course. Beautiful damage. They die like it's absolutely nothing. They don't have a chance in hell. That's why I'm gonna have to go into a mission. They just they all die immediately. So it's pretty hard to show this off. Now, leaving the simulacrum. We've got pretty much everything we need. We have armor strip. We have literal invincibility when we're in her claws, so survivability is not an issue at all. And we have big PP damage. Now the question is what to run. What sort of mission would be the best? I would do a disruption, like a Mars disruption, but the stupid Demolists, they can nullify you, and that really screws Valkyr over, so that's a no-go. We could do Void Cascade, but this build isn't really meant for Void Cascade. I'm sure you could pull it off, but Valkyr isn't made for Void Cascade. She's made to go into a mission and just murder everything. Just run around pulverizing everything. Who cares about objectives? So I'm thinking we can go to the Sanctum Anatomica and select the highest Steel Path bounty we can, because that's going to get us about the thickest enemies we can get right now, unless I want to go into a freaking 2-hour mission, which, no, I suck at editing and stuff, so I can't just edit that in, not at this point in time. Here we go, level 215 to level 220. Ooh, wait. Why don't I just do a Netracell? We can solo a Netracell, yeah. Netracells! These enemies are, it does not say what level they're enemies. Empowered enemies, does it say anywhere what level they are? There we go, 220 to 240? I guess this is probably the hardest enemies we'll have. Yeah, you know what, I'd say this is the kind of So, I'm sure you noticed some basic trimming because I made a big pee-pee mistake and freaking killed myself. I went in, I found the book, I fought the book, I exited my claws, and I died because I exited my claws like a dumbass and got instantly killed. That's the problem. You need to always stay in your claws. I had the energy. I was just dumb, and I'm assuming you guys probably don't want to just watch me die. You're going to be like, damn, this guy's doo-doo water, and then click off the video, and that's suboptimal. So, that should be trimmed out. Now, back to where we were. What was I talking about before? So we're just going to speedrun, getting to hack things, you know, get to the circle, so we can start murdering everything and get this mission done. Now, Valkyr has received quite a few, like, passive buffs with all of the updates as of late, and I'm quite satisfied with how good she is now. Not that she was bad before, she's always been really good, but she's really, really good now. Because first in Dante Unbound, we got the humongous change for her, which was the slam attack changes, making it so slam attacks actually scale with mods, which is massive for her since her heavy attack, or at least the first in the 2 heavy attack combo from her claws, is a slam. That was a humongous buff for her. Also, there's the fact that now you can like easily craft up Talforge shards. That was a thing with Dante, and Whispers in the Wall, which it wasn't too long ago, at the start of the year, that added in, you know, purple Archon shards, which are of course a humongous buff to her. She's been getting lots of wins, and then Jade Shadows, the armor changes was really nice because now we don't have to have a full armor strip. Plus, now we have what is, in my opinion, the best helmet ability option for her, which is Jade's helmet ability, Open Him Eyes. Lots of amazing changes for her. The status effect changes don't really do much for her because we're not going for, like, Blast or Magnetic or anything like that. And the health increase, that's also pretty irrelevant because we're going to do so much damage anyways now that everything's just going to die. My main complaints with Valkyr, or any Warframe with exalted weapons in general, would be getting nullified. Not just nullifier bubbles, but Demlist and stuff. I really wish they didn't nullify you out of your exalted weapons. I think that should not be a thing, but it is, so there's nothing we can do about it right now. Now, first off, let me get Opening Slam right away. Then we're going to cast our 4 so we don't die. Cast our 2, get the attack speed. Cast our 3, which is Open Him Eyes. Now, everything's just going to die. It's really hard to show off the damage when everything just dies immediately. Look at that. You see that? I need to let them actually get into the circle. I'm really bad about killing enemies outside the circle. I follow the chain of enemies and then I just murder them all. Next thing I know, I'm 100 meters outside of the designated area. But you can see that there's absolutely no issues with killing stuff here. Just look at the damage. It's beautiful. Oh, did you see that? We just did 140 million, which is a pretty large amount. Hang on, I gotta let my dog go out. She's crying. Let her outside of the room. There we go. Don't even have to worry about dying since we're invulnerable to damage. Though I am gonna need to get some energy back. It's really important to have a companion here that can tag enemies everywhere, like Dairio with Hellstrom. Because that way with Synth Deconstruct we can get plenty of health orbs. That way we can get lots of energy because of Equilibrium. Otherwise, you're going to have a really hard time upkeeping the energy economy on Valkyr. We're actually about to struggle really bad here because these enemies won't come inside the freaking circle. Look, as soon as you kill a group of enemies, you got all the energy you need. Oh me, oh my. Would they please, oh please, come into this circle. Okay, look, even I mean, granted, that was like the doggo, and they're not very strong, but even overguarded enemies just get destroyed. They don't stand a chance in hell. I definitely like having all the range. One of the things that maybe someone will bring up is the fact that our build is a bit, like, not center focused on one specific thing, because we have Seismic Strike, which only affects our heavy attack, right, the slams. And then we have like primed reach and stuff, which or primed reach as well as spring-loaded blade, which only affects the range for our normal attacks, right? So we have 2 mods that are doing nothing but range on our normal attacks, which do nothing for our heavy attack, and then 1 for our heavy attack that does nothing for our normal attacks. But because we're cycling between our normal and heavy attacks all the time because we have Tennokai, it's not an issue at all, and our damage is just absurdly high that I definitely think this is the way to go. Because you just get such big damage from your heavy attacks with the Tennokai. Holy hell. Oh yeah, that was another massive buff we got when Whispers in the Wall came out to Valkyr, was Tennokai. It's just so nice, specifically after the Dante change, because I guess before the Tennokai didn't do much since the slam attacks didn't do much. I mean, it still sort of worked if you hit the enemy directly. Did we just do 52 or 520 million on that guy? I'm not sure. Oh, I don't even have my armor strip up anymore. It's completely unnecessary because these guys just die so easily. God, I love Valkyr. Valkyr's the frame that if you just want to run around brutally ripping everything to shreds while you are completely invincible. Like, look at that. My health bar is great. I literally cannot die. The only way to die is to exit our claws, which is running out of energy, not an issue with this build, or getting nullified, which nullifier bubbles aren't a problem because for anybody that doesn't know, you can switch to your guns while you are in your claws without ending them. See, I can just switch to my guns. I can't switch to my melee, but I can switch my guns. Do keep in mind though, that when you switch to your guns, you unfortunately lose the damage and vulnerability. See how if I aim, my health bar isn't gray anymore? But because it takes so little time to like prime an enemy, or to pop a nullifier bubble, the amount of time we have from our shield gate for it to like break if we get shot is more than enough time, right? Like, imagine there's a nullifier, I just aim in, shoot, back to my claws, there we go. Problem solved. No more nullifier, and I don't have to worry about dying still. And the same thing can be said about priming, because of how high our fire rate is and, you know, how crazy Nucor is. So if there's an enemy we need to prime, here, let me find an enemy, right? Like, we find a dude, we just aim in, pulverize him, and then murder him. Extremely straightforward. She is not a hard Warframe to play, but that doesn't mean she isn't fun. She is unbelievably fun, and her damage ceiling is so freaking high. It actually blows my mind that more people don't play her when you can get so much damage for so little effort put in. Granted, that's gameplay effort, resource effort, investment effort-wise, it does take quite a bit, I have to admit. Whereas, let's say you just use Saren, right? Like, Saren takes literally 0 investment. A Mastery rank 3 guy with a normal Saren and a couple decent mods is going to be able to destroy everything with her, as long as they have a not, you know, scug of a weapon. But I still thoroughly enjoy using Valkyr. And she's also really nice for Deep Archimedia when I get her. Because, well, you know, you have all the damage you need and you don't got to worry about dying. And dying is the main concern in Deep Archimedia 99% of the time, or at least for me, and the majority of blueberries I get with. Damage can be an issue sometimes, but usually it's just dying that's the problem. I really hate it when we get horrible spawns in rooms like this, where the enemies just get stuck trying to come into the room, and we can't just, you know, speed run the Netracell. That's one of the big problems with Netracells I wish they would fix, is that it just, the map is the, what's the word I'm looking for here? Tile set. The RNG with getting a decent tile set just affects the run so much based off of, like, if you get a really good one or a really bad one. If you get a bad tile set, you're just screwed. I don't remember destroying the second Netramite, but we're at 11%, so I guess I did. Maybe it must have, like, spawned me and I wasn't paying attention. I killed it. Damn, I didn't get to see that damage number. I wanted to see it. That was probably a humongous amount of damage. Come on, come on, come on. Let me heavy attack. I want to see this guy right here. Oh, he was already dead. Suffering from success. That guy on the outer edge, he took 8.6 million. There will be times, though, like earlier, where you get several hundred million damage. And it makes you have an orgasm. Yes, I can say that on YouTube. It's fine. My videos are tagged for not children. It's fine. Getting all these red crits, all this damage. I really don't know what else to talk about. It should be obvious why Valkyr is amazing. Why Valkyr gets Big Poppy going. I'm going to be doing several videos of extremely maxed out Warframes. And they should all be pretty crazy like this. I don't even need to grab all of this stuff. I already did my Netra cells for the week, so we're just going to run in, shoot this crap. Oh, I have to wait for it to come up. Anytime now. Please and thank you. Oh my god, that thing is so freaking tanky. Yeah, so the next Warframes I've got lined up are like Hydroid, I think, and Hildren, Mirage. The problem is I just did a Mirage video, and I'm not quite sure. I mean, I didn't go full investment in, but I just did a Mirage video, so I suppose I might do that as like the last one of all my high investment build videos. But the next one I'm going to be working on investing into is Nyx, but as far as frames I have ready to do more videos on, I already have several. So that's going to be it for the Valkyr showcase. We're going to go back to my orbiter and show off everything we have on her, specifically just speedrun going over the mods again. For anybody that just like skipped to the end, because that's totally understandable. I do it on lots of videos as well. So, quickly over everything again. All this stuff, X-List is completely optional. 4 Archon shards, purple for melee crit damage, 1 for casting speed, Miter to pop nullifiers, new core for priming, Tellus Boltis for a gladiator stat stick, and we get the particle velocity, but that's also optional, not the gladiator stat stick part. Naramon, of course, as your focus school, the Claws build, our Hellstrom, and our Diriga. That is everything. And holy crap, I love Valkyr. Big mommy. Now, if you liked the video, leave a like and subscribe, and maybe share this with somebody that likes Valkyr if you know anybody. We're so close to 1,000 subscribers. We're at like about to hit 900. Y'all are the best. So if we could get to 1,000, I'm actually going to bust a fat one. That's going to be it. Adios.